Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Bree. Today's video we're going to talk about all the books I bought in the month of November. I actually did really good this month and I only bought 5 books. So I have 5 books to talk to you about, which means this is going to be a shorter video, but I will try to talk about the books a bit more than I usually do. I apologize already for the state of my mind because I just recorded my wrap up, which you'll have seen before this, and words are not working today. The brain not quite turning on the way I would hope. So just bear with me. Let's talk about first 2 books I picked up for very specific reasons. First is The 100 Years' War on Palestine by Rashid Khalidi. This is a history of settler colonialism and resistance from 1917 to 2017. I'm about 100 pages in it currently, but I'm taking this very slow. It's a very dense read, but it's very informative. This is detailing the history of Palestine and how it came to be colonized by Israel all the way up into present day 2017. So obviously not what's going on right now, but it leads up to how we got to where we are today. And it's very informative, very interesting. I have so many thoughts and feelings on this, and I was reading on my Kobo and then I decided to get a physical copy because I want to take my tabs and go back and annotate because I was just highlighting so many things in the book. So yeah, I would highly recommend this if you're looking to understand a bit more about the history of Palestine, and he cites his sources very much all the time. So it's a very informative book and feels a bit like a textbook in certain ways because of how many times he's citing sources and stuff like that, but it does help you to really see where everything's coming from. And yeah, I would say it just is a slower read. If you're someone who doesn't read a lot of history, it's a very dense history, but very worth it and very informative. So I got this because I also want to be able to pass it along to family and stuff who want to read it. So yes, very happy to have this on my shelves. And also this has really gotten me back into nonfiction. I read which you'll see in my wrap up, Freedom is a Constant Struggle by Angela Davis, and it's the first 2 nonfictions I read this year, which is crazy because last year I also didn't read a lot, but yet before I started BookTube, I read over half my books were nonfiction, so I've just really slowed down in the nonfiction category, and I would really like to get back to it, and reading those 2 things has really helped me remember how much I like nonfiction and how much I like learning, so I am happy to have this, and obviously not happy for what's going on, but happy to be educating myself because it is the least I can do. Next is Against the Loveless World by Susan Abulhawa, and this is a book by a Palestinian author, and it's also won the Palestine Book Awards in 2020. In this, we're following our main character, Nar, and she is detailing her life as she's in prison. So she's in prison and she's reflecting back on her life and how she got to be in prison, and right now I am 100 pages in, I'm 75 pages in, and we so far have gotten her life as she is growing up and she marries young and how her marriage goes and just the things that she has to do to survive in this world. And it's a harrowing story in certain aspects, but then also just a story of a girl growing up, and you know that she's imprisoned and that at the beginning that she is viewed as one of the biggest female terrorists in the time, and she's being interviewed by journalists and stuff, and you just don't know how she got to where she is. She's growing up in Kuwait, but her family's from Palestine, and it's just the impacts of what happened during the Nakba into present day. And it's also historical because when she's going back, it's in the 80s when she's in her 20s. So it's very much feels like a woman just detailing her life, and so far I'm really enjoying it. Again, it's one of those books that it's hard to say you're enjoying something when it is dealing with a lot of trigger warnings, and there's a ton of trigger warnings in here, but I do think it's a very interesting read, and I do think one that is important, so I am enjoying it in that sense. So that is Against the Loveless World. I picked this up the same time I picked up The 100 Years' War on Palestine, so that I could have more to read, because I do think it's important to read fiction and nonfiction together in this capacity. It's not just about informing yourself, but also reading stories from different people. It's just really great to broaden your horizons. So I am doing that. Then I also picked up Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree at the beginning of the month. This released, I think, on the 7th of November, and I got this right before my surgery, and it was the great thing to read during my surgery when I was just laid up and needed something cozy. This is the prequel to Legends and Lattes, which is about Viv, who is an orc. And in this one, she is a mercenary and she gets injured. And so she is at this seaside town where she meets Fern, who is the owner of this bookshop. And Fern has a little animal companion that's like part dog, part bird. She's helping Fern just kind of try to get her bookshop back to the way it was and trying to just help her because Fern is really struggling. And then she also meets a baker in town, and there's just like different characters she meets, and it's about this town, but it's also got this side plot. And so this one is much more adventure based than Legends and Lattes. And so I was intrigued, and I think I would read anything really in this world with Viv because they're just very slice of life, cozy, fun stories. So I picked that one up and read it in the month of November. So this one I picked up because my friend Karen at Roving Reader was reading it and really enjoyed it and said it was really funny. And I had seen it a couple times and I decided to pick it up. So that is Murder Your Employer by Rupert Holmes. This is about a person who goes to a school to train to murder your employer. It says, a thriller with a killer concept. The McMaster's Conservatory for the Applied Arts, a luxurious clandestine college dedicated to the fine art of murder. So all I really know is that this person is going to a school for murder and learning how to murder people. And I think it's a series. And I don't know if it's going to have its own mystery into it. I think so because it said it's a thriller. But I keep seeing this and I like kind of funny type stories. I like Finley Donovan. I like The Thursday Murder Club. I loved Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone. Those kind of I guess, mysteries that don't really take themselves too seriously and just have fun. I really enjoy them. Dial A for Aunties was another one where they can kind of get wild and out there, but I just always have a good time with them. So this one seems like it's going to be that as well. And so I just can't wait to get to it. It sounds fun and that's all I needed. I'm always in the mood for these kind of things. I'm a genre-based reader. I tend to really be into a genre in the month. So right now that's historical fantasy, but then I like to sprinkle in other genres. And this is one that I always like to have to just sprinkle in because usually they're fun and just get me out of my head for a little bit. So I am interested to get to this one. Finally, we have one of my top anticipated releases for the year. Once I found out about it, I just knew I was going to have to pick it up, and that's What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. This is a historical fantasy mystery. This is following our main character Inez, I believe is her name. Yeah, and she lives in Buenos Aires, and her parents are archaeologists, and they are away in Egypt, and one day she gets a letter that her parents have died, and she has been left their fortune, but also a guardian, and so she has to go to Egypt and live with this guardian who works with his brother-in-law, who is also an archaeologist, and I believe there's some suspicious stuff going on, and she starts to believe maybe her parents' deaths were suspicious, and she has a ring or something from her father that she gets tied up in this whole mystery of what's happened. And it said it's Indiana Jones meets Laura Croft, maybe, I don't know, but it said Indiana Jones-esque, and I thought that was really fun, and I just heard really good reviews so far on it, so I'm very excited to get to it. This just sounds like a book that's perfectly up my alley. It's got mystery, it's got historical, it's got adventure. I just think I'm really gonna like it. I can't wait to get to it. I just haven't picked it up yet, but I do want to get to it really soon. And I really like this cover. This purple Barnes & Noble edition is really pretty. So that's this. I also got the last one. I had to go to 2 Barnes & Nobles to get it. So clearly it's being picked up, which is great. So there you go. That's my little book haul for the month of November. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.